energy is omnipresent. So if you have to attract somebody from the other side of the planet to make your goal a reality on the physical plane, that must happen. That's the perpetual transmutation of energy that flows to and through us. And what most people misunderstand is that we've seen The Secret, we've heard about just think positively, you will attract whatever you think about. Well, that's not true. There's more to it. And Bob often said that that was the missing piece left out in The Secret, because it's how you feel. It's how you feel at your core. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So you can disassociate from the physical to an extreme degree. That's what I did, going from having an eviction notice to living in a prosperous mentality. Like I couldn't afford rent.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I am super excited to have a wonderful guest here with us today, Henders Hansen. Okay. He is an international recognized illusionist and the seven-figure CEO of Real Magic LLC. So with over 20 years of experience in stage magic, personal development, he created the award-winning Real Magic Live experience. It's a groundbreaking fusion of live performance and personal growth. And doesn't it sound super fun? Like, that's where the magic's at, right? So he has helped entrepreneurs and high achievers like yourself break free from mental limitation, and that's a big one, being in this space. Create quantum leap results. Like, it doesn't have to take you 10 years. He can actually get you there quicker and experience transformation like never before. All this with a spark of magic. It's magic. So with no further ado, Henders, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lenita. I really appreciate you. And I appreciate what you're building here and all these powerful conversations that you have about success, entrepreneurship, and morning routines. I mean, that's one of my favorite subjects. So I really appreciate you for what you're building. And so for everyone listening, do me a favor and leave Lunita a 5-star review, all the great work she's doing so that she can get this message further out into the world to all the great entrepreneurs that needs to hear it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. Now, you are a man who's helped over 10,000 people go beyond their limit, level up in so many different ways. And your events are generating over what, $12 million in revenue. That's huge. I'm curious, how did this all get started for you? Because we love a hero's journey.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it's been quite a ride. And yeah, like you say, a lot of people, they want to grow, they want to expand, but the mindset sort of keeps getting in the way every time. And some people discover it by accident. I certainly did. A lot of people tried all these tons of strategies and programs and all sorts of things, and they still feel stuck. And that's what I do. So I help conscious entrepreneurs transform how they lead and grow without the hustle and hype, using what I refer to as my illusion to integration framework, so they can monetize their gifts, lead with clarity, and scale with soul. But that is not where it started. Where it started was on a single plane ride ticket from Denmark, which is my native country. From Denmark to here, I emigrated in 2006, and I had become a version of myself I absolutely didn't like. So in a desperate attempt to reinvent myself, I left, and I lost my dad, who passed away in the process. I lost my business, my friends, and I arrived here with nothing but 2 suitcases and a deck of cards, which was sort of the last representation of my career in magic. And I started performing magic at cafes and restaurants for tips, and at $20 a night was a good night for me. That enabled me to get one Chipotle bowl a week. Otherwise, it was just $1 Burger King hamburgers. But at that point, somebody gave me the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and that changed everything for me, because I learned I wasn't my thoughts. I could actually start directing them. So I went from living on tips to getting my work visa approved, to then performing and producing multi-million-dollar production shows on cruise ships and television. And I was stuck in the middle of it going, what the heck happened? I knew it wasn't an accident. I knew it had something to do with my new way of thinking. And people asked me, what did you do? And I said, I read that book, but a lot of people read that book and nothing happened to them. So I got fascinated with what happened to me. So I studied personal development, spirituality, quantum physics, trying to figure out what the heck happened. And once I figured it out, all I wanted to do was just teach it. So I decided to scrap my career in entertainment in the traditional sense and to do what I do today, which is merging both personal transformation and a hint of magic, helping people transform their minds and their lives. And I lead a team of 7 beautiful souls who are committed to doing it alongside me. And yes, we have helped 10,000 people at this point. We've grossed over 12 million in revenue. And we're committed to, in the future, helping millions of people lead happier, healthier, and wealthier lives. And that was the short version of the story.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I took it all in and I have tons of questions. So
Yes, let's go.
so the quantum leap, I heard your quantum leap as you said that. I heard the transformation in terms of like getting your visa, not living off tip, that story from where you started with just a suitcase and a deck of cards.
Yeah.
How long after reading that book, because I also want to find out the method and what happened to you specifically, because it was a unique experience as well, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone read the book.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to notice for your reality to start matching your frequency, your mindset, to the
Yeah.
shift that had happened in here?
That's such a great question. It happened rapidly. And I realized in hindsight, it had all to do with my frequency and the state I was in prior to it. It happened in less than a year.
Wow.
And so I found myself on these big cruise ships, performing big shows, and thinking again, how the heck did it happen? But the grateful state was always a precursor. And then when I made a decision to stop my career in magic and do what I do today, I also made up my mind, Lunit, that I was going to work with the best in the world in personal development. I said, I'm not going to just do it on my own. I'm going to try and work with somebody that actually knows what they're doing. I didn't put a name on the person. I just said the best in the world. And I lived in Las Vegas at the time, and I was really stuck. I just left entertainment, had an eviction notice on my door, $50,000 in debt, and a blood test that said I was really sick. So it wasn't a great place. But I had learned from this book that I could put anything to work in my life if I wanted to. And so again, I started priming myself with my morning routine every morning. And one of the techniques I still do to this very day, and that's part of what we're giving away because it's so powerful. And in a few months, in 2 months, I my intuition guided me to be at a specific place in town at a specific time. And I ran into Bob Proctor, and he was widely regarded as one of the best in the world at what he did. And I knew it wasn't an accident. Um, on one side of me was the little voice saying, "You can't disturb the man. He's famous and he's really busy." And on the other side was, Wayne Gretzky's quote going, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." So I'm like, oh, so gotta make the introduction, and I did. And again, I asked Bob afterwards, how did this happen? Like, we can be in two different places at, 2 different places in the world at the same time. What are the odds that we're going to be here?
Yeah.
He said it couldn't have been any different. So that's what I learned, Leonid, with everything in life. Like, time and space are illusions. Energy is all we have to deal with. And energy is omnipresent. So if you have to attract somebody from the other side of the planet to make your goal a reality on the physical plane, that must happen. That's the perpetual transmutation of energy that flows to and through us. And what most people misunderstand is we've seen The Secret, we've heard about just think positively, you will attract whatever you think about. Well, that's not true. There's more to it. And Bob often said that was the missing piece left out in The Secret, because it's how you feel. It's how you feel at your core. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So you can disassociate from the physical to an extreme degree. That's what I did, going from having an eviction notice to living in a prosperous mentality. Like I couldn't afford rent. So that's what it's about. And it's about priming ourselves as entrepreneurs, as aspiring entrepreneurs. We always wonder, where's the opportunity? Well, it's not outside, it's inside. We need to go from looking at resources as an external thing to acknowledging our internal resourcefulness. And that's really where it begins. Recognizing we're born rich. We have rich mental faculties in our mind. Most people can't even articulate what they are. But once we do and we start working with them, everything starts to shift because now we live from the inside out as opposed to outside in. And that's the key. That was a long answer. I'm sorry, but I feel there's so much to it, right? It's
There
like,
is. There is, and I'm sitting there, I'm soaking it all in because I resonate with it 100,000%, because it is so true. What you're referring to is getting to that place of alignment,
Yeah.
and once you get to alignment, you act out of alignment. You make aligned, you take aligned action. You make
Hmm.
aligned decision, and so when you met Brad Proctor, it was going to happen, right? As you both stated, and you've embodied it. When you mentioned something really popular there, you said you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are, right? So that's the embodiment aspect of it. I want you to talk about that because that's what starts magnetizing,
Yeah.
start attracting. Because you're talking
Hmm.
about this bundle of frequency that we are attracting, the things that we need and want, not just need but desires, just want,
Yeah.
uh, manifesting in real time, just thinking something and instantly it drops in your email account kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that for our listeners, please.
Absolutely. The universe loves speed. What we have to recognize is that everything is already here. If not in one frequency, then on another. There is no universe. There's a multiverse with infinite potentialities existing side by side until we choose. That's what quantum physics tells us. So the problem is we've been governed by our physical senses. We've been taught to live from the outside in. From we were kids, do you see what I'm saying? Can you hear what I'm telling you? Do you see what I'm saying? Like ever since we grew up, we've been primed and indoctrinated to live from the outside in. We got to reverse that. And for us to do that, we first have to understand who we are. Most people think they are their body, which is an illusion. Like that's just a bunch of molecules that makes up our physical side of our personality, but we're a spiritual being living in a body and we're gifted with a mind that can think. That's universal for all of us. It doesn't matter where we come from, what has happened, that's universal completely. And so once we understand that the mind is bigger than the body, the mind controls what the body does, then we can start shifting our internal state with something that we in our framework refer to as our self-image. That's an image we have locked up in every cell of our being. We were programmed through our DNA, obviously from our parents, but that programming was reinforced at an early age. And so we can never surpass what we believe we're worth. So if we don't shift those mental illusions and start changing what we believe we're worth, we will never create better results. And that's what happened to me initially when I met Bob. I had never earned more than $40,000 a year. And he said, "What do you really want?" And I said, "Well, I just want to get rid of my debt." He's like, "Well, that's a crappy goal. If you're focused on getting rid of debt, you'll attract more of it.
Right.
And debt-free still zero. So what do you really want?" Well, then I want financial freedom. I had no idea how. I didn't believe it, but I believed he believed it because he knew what he was talking about. And in 11 months, I had turned my annual income into my monthly income, still having no idea how it was going to happen. But I started believing it because on a cellular level, my belief system started to align with my goal. And that's where most people miss the mark. They can set the goals all day long, but they're unwilling to become the person in their identity that matches that frequency. Once we shift the identity, the frequency changes, the behavior changes, and obviously the results change in
Yeah.
that order.
Yeah, Jim Rohn said it clearly too. When you grow, your business grow. When you change, your business will change. That's essentially what you're alluding to, is
Yeah.
that growth that needs to take place. Because I am now starting to believe strongly that the money, the material things are just a
Mhm.
byproduct.
100%. 100%. It's a byproduct of the growth. The growth is the goal. And most people think it's about the money. And, if it's a byproduct, like you say, it makes life more comfortable, but it should never be the goal in and of itself. It leads to a very hollow existence. What I do recognize is the more I develop me, the more I grow, the more service I render, and naturally, more money follows. But you don't earn money to get it. You earn money to circulate it and contribute with it.
Yeah.
That's the real purpose. Like I support a charity, a food bank that I've been very much involved in. I've seen firsthand what happens to kids if they don't get the right nutrition. It impacts their way of learning in school. And so I'm very passionate about that. And I've learned it feels better to give it away than to actually earn it. One
Yeah.
of my biggest drivers is actually the kids that we can help with the work that we're doing. And so for every participant at Real Magic Live, depending on what ticket type people get, we will donate anywhere from 30 meals to 100 meals to kids in that person's name who bought the ticket. And it makes me feel good. And I recognize abundance is not money, it's an idea of circulation. Money is just one out of 1,000 different expressions of it.
It's a tool, as you said.
It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a magnifier. That's all it is. If you're a grumpy person, well, at least you will be grumpy in comfort. But if you're good and giving and you will just, there's more to give from.
Yeah.
So,
It's like a hammer, you know. If you don't know what to do with it, then it's just pointless. You need a nail. If you don't know the precision of what your objective is to go do with that nail, then it's a tool. It's useless just sitting there. You can bang your head with it. Anyways, my what I wanna chime in is I have something to share with you. Brace yourself. That kindness, the donation, the helping with the kids, the feeding, all that stuff you're doing warms my heart. Yes, it's good. But I just read that it is universal law when you do such a thing that it multiplies and return back to its source, which is you.
it always does. And I think most people misunderstand trading for giving. Like they give with the expectation of getting, but that's sort of trading.
That's
We got
church. Isn't that church?
in a lot of ways it is. God is going to bless me because I decide to give. And it's a big hoax, in my opinion. It's like that's not what it is. Giving is giving freely, abundantly, with no expectation. Like have no attachment. Just give because it feels good. That comes back 1,000 times in ways that can not be measured in money, maybe, but in other things. It can be measured in psychic income. Psychic income is the pleasure and the joy you get out of helping. I derive more psychic income out of giving than anything else. So it is circulation. It really is, Linnea. But I think a lot of people misinterpret it as something that you have to trade your way to.
Yeah, I do like that term, psychic income. I have not heard that one before. And you said this simply is the joy of giving, it's the joy of generosity that you'll receive.
Yeah, absolutely. I derive an enormous amount of psychic income through my work. Just, I love what I do. I get up at 5:30 in the morning and do my routine and I keep going until 8, 9 o'clock at night. I can't stop because I absolutely love it. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I derive so much psychic income out of seeing people growing and changing. And like we had a client the other day, she went from 100,000 a month to over 1 million in like a year and a half. I mean, that to see the way she's been able to change her life, her family life, her kids, they're going to grow up in a totally different environment. It's like I wouldn't trade it for anything. So there's an enormous amount of psychic income coupled with the charity work that then follows. Yeah, I think that's what life is about. No one as entrepreneurs will sit at the end of the road hoping that they took extra 2 hours of work on a Wednesday night, but they do remember all the great moments and all the great memories and all of that. And I think that's a road worth pursuing.
Yes, yes, yes. Now back to your origin story. You read the book, others read the book, but you processed it very differently. What happened to you? Was it just you were hungry? You were like thirsty for a change? What was it?
That's a great question. When I arrived here with nothing, I I often say that the illusions fell apart for me. I had associated myself with my environment, with the stuff around me, with my job title. When I arrived here, I had nothing, like nothing, no thing. Like, so I started feeling grateful for small things. I read that book and I started getting to know me for the first time in my life. All the illusions started to fall apart and the real truth started emerging. And that's that I'm an eternal being. I'm living in a physical body right now and there's no urgency. There's just more contentment. I think that was the first thing is recognizing that we seek oftentimes external validation and we're striving for everything outside of ourselves. But what really changed was the grateful state for small things. That's been a pillar in my morning routine ever since. And I'm on day 2,393 in a row
I love that.
utilizing this
I
because
love that.
that people, here's the biggest problem. The assessment, we've developed an assessment that places people in 1 out of 5 illusions. And the one that you allude to is the illusion of knowledge. That's one of the 5, where we think if we read the book and we can regurgitate the book, we've learned it. That's memorization. That has nothing to do with learning. Learning is taking a new concept, integrating it intellectually, subjectively to a point where it becomes part of our fixed behavior. Now I learned something. Now I learned to change a result. So most people, they will do their priming routine. They know they should be grateful, and then they're onwards to the next thing. They don't sit down and actually make it an experience. So when you go from understanding to experience, everything starts to shift. These are simple concepts. It doesn't take a PhD to get it, but most people still miss it because we're so hardwired to just think that knowledge is the key. And it obviously isn't.
Yeah. And then debunk the whole notion that knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power.
No, 100%. And emotional intelligence is what makes us in what enables us to go and create those quantum leap goals. If it was just about knowledge, I mean, AI would have solved all the problems in the world. More people are more unhappy than ever before. They haven't learned to work with that, the other side of their mind. And that's what I'm committed to helping people do for the rest of my life because I see so much unnecessary mental suffering out there with, it doesn't matter who you are. Most people are caught up in those mental illusions that don't serve them. And it's nuts. And so yeah, it's a big topic, but yeah, for sure, it's knowledge is a big one. Then we have other mental illusions that most people fall into: lack, fear, some of them, but
Scarcity.
knowledge, scarcity, and yeah, and hustle. Like I gotta work hard, grind, grind, grind. You see it all over the place on Instagram. All these influencers. It's all about grinding hard. No, that sends us to the cemetery too early. Like there's nobody that wins in that equation other than the funeral home.
Yeah. Yeah. And so are those some of the mental blocks that you see with a lot of entrepreneurs? Because especially the hustling and grinding part,
Oh,
you're wearing
100%.
10,000 different hats. You're just pushing hard. Then they do say you got to do your 10,000 hours. It is the norm. It is being preached. It is socially accepted.
Yeah, no, 100%. Hustle and grind is one of the big ones. We can name all five, and then in the assessment that we give away, anyone can take it for themselves and figure out what bucket they fall into, and then we can start making the course corrections. But I find before we start charging the course about where we want to go, we first have to realize where we are and what blocks us. Removing that block enables us to open up for where we want to go. But there's hustle and grind, got to work hard, and we have that because subjectively we have an association that says time is money. It's not true. It is the biggest and most expensive lie we've been told. Time is infinitely more valuable than money can ever become. But we have this parallel in there. So we run faster hoping that's going to yield us better results. It won't. And then we have luck, people that gamble on everything outside of themselves. They hope and they pray and they wish. And I lived in a city called Las Vegas 5 years too long, and the whole world travels there to gamble on everything outside of themselves. It's nuts. And then we have the third one, fear. Most people measure everything they can lose, and they're programmed to do that. Then we have lack. There's never enough. They
Right.
haven't learned how to develop their resourcefulness. They're focused on external resources and, of course, knowledge. And so those are the five main ones that I see most people fall into.
And they ring loud and true. They do, because you have been a victim. I have been a victim. It's happened to me, so it's no kidding about it. Now, tell us what happens after we now know this. We have identified this. What happens at a real magic live event?
Yeah, so what we do actually, we bridge a show and a seminar, and we do that in our virtual challenges as well, where we help people first understand which of these illusions is the biggest one that holds them back, and then we empower them with tools and techniques to override that illusion and install a new operating system, so to say. That's why this material is so powerful, because it's not a conscious intellectual gymnastics exercise. We're actually working on a subjective cellular level with your entire belief system. And when that shifts, results naturally follow, not by working harder, but by becoming the person identity-wise that will start attracting those opportunities. So that's what happens at a real Magic Live event. But it's not everybody that's able to travel to it. So we put together this really easy kit that you can do at home, and we can talk more about that later. But it's a process, and I believe it is the most worthy process a person can undertake. It's developing our own mindset. Everything else is secondary. Like in the world we're living in, yeah, growing as a person is should be the absolute first priority.
And how do you say this to the younger generation where there is information overload?
Mhm.
There is this it's not even a fear factor anymore. It's we're supposed to be more social, but we're not. You'll see a group of people standing around and they're all on their phones.
Sure.
So how do we get that message across? Like we need to start looking inward and
Exactly.
stop depending on the AI or external forces to bring us together to bring a solution.
That's what magic does so well. Like, so, for example, the mind is the key that sets you free, right? And so that's a way to snap people out of the pattern. That's why we use, and that's how we utilize magic to get them to think, because magic opens up the mind and it makes you go, what happened just here? And now we can start, integrating new ideas and new concepts. So there's really only three ways to open the mind, Lunit. It's through fascination, agreement, or shock. So we rule out shock. So there's fascination and agreement left. We open up people's minds with magic. It makes them fascinated. And then we make agreement with the concepts taught. It's a very, very effective way to make sure that the information sticks. And that's what we've seen with people. They can't forget about it even if they tried. So now it has transcended the conscious down to the subconscious, and it's become part of their identity. And that's really the key. So I think that's all it takes is genuine human interaction these days that will snap people out of the mass hypnosis that's taking place.
Yeah, the fascination. I mean, I was just wowed. And I'm sure you add laughter into that to release the serotonin, relax the nervous system so
Yeah.
it lands.
Exactly. We take people through an entire emotional like journey. They connect with deep gratitude. We take them through a lot of different peaks and valleys that they resonate with. It lands in them at a completely different level than it otherwise would have done. That's why it's so powerful.
Wow. And it's very different from regular typical seminars and workshop and the quantum leap. How long are the events? Because I imagine this would take a whole weekend just to get somebody to go through the amount of transformation. I mean, you're peeling layers and of an onion there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's our virtual challenges, our illusion breakthrough challenge. It's 2 days, an hour and a half every day. It's virtual. It's very easy to get into. And then we have our 3 day Real Magic live seminars. That's it's 2.5 days actually. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday, half day Sunday. It does take time, but once people leave, they leave as a brand new person. They now understand where their health is coming from. It's the mind and the body is obviously connected. They understand how to create more in their life by working in harmony with the natural laws of the universe. And they know now what it means to change their self-image at the root so that they identity-wise become a different person. In fact, there's three phases we take them through. Napoleon Hill once stated that what the mind of man can create and believe, they can achieve, right? So we take them through those three phases in that event. So we spend an entire day creating the worthy goal and integrating it subjectively. We spend the next day creating the identity, the self-image, get rid of the fear in favor of faith. And then we spend the third day learning what it means to get in harmony with the universal laws and bringing yourself into a receptive state. And we've seen quantum leap after quantum leap happen in that process.
Yeah, and the word that's coming to me to mind as you speak is coming back to yourself, coming home to yourself, essentially, because as you said, it is innate.
Exactly. We all have it within us. No one needs fixing. We just needs more recognition of what's already there. And it's relatively simple. It's just not easy for people because the truth is buried underneath layers and layers of paradigms and mental constructs that doesn't serve us. Sometimes we have to go far back in the family tree to see where all that stuff came from. I recognize as an immigrant with all the lack and limitation my parents had from the Second World War. That's how they grew up. Nothing, like never enough of anything. I grew up with those beliefs, but also broke a pattern in my family tree forever because I decided to do something about it, which, let's be honest, most people don't. They sort of just accept the hand that they've been dealt.
Dealt with. Yeah.
And they don't recognize the infinite potential that's within them. And it is infinite. I don't know how much infinite is, but I know it's more than I'm living today. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you brought in something very powerful here because there's generational curses, there's generational wounds that we carry. It's not just DNA. We're talking about the lack mentality, the immigration, because I'm an immigrant myself, that our parents, what they didn't have and how they help us to be better. We carry that with us. It's generational baggage or a story of origin. They call it in therapy. And when we do this work, what you're doing to help thousands and thousands of people, you're not only breaking that generational lineage, baggage, but bloodline going forward. Because now let's say kids, let's say the family now, they get to start where you have arrived. That alone should like spearhead you to like take this leap.
Oh, we've seen it all over. We see it all the time. We see participants bring their kids, sometimes they're teenagers. And like this young guy was at a seminar in Denmark not too long ago. And just to see his mind shift in terms of his self-image, he was very insecure in school, didn't like exams, and all of a sudden became very confident, starting to ace his exams. Like it affected everything because his mom made the decision to change. Like then she invited the family to join her, everything shifted. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see, but it does take a little bit of an open mind and a willingness. And sometimes we have to be put on the spot. Bob Proctor did that with me, when I was broke and sick and desperate. He said, how's your health? I had to admit it wasn't good because I had a blood test that said I was really sick. He says, how's your wealth? Not good. Owing $50,000, stuck in debt. All right. How's your relationship? Not good either. He goes, do I look like a happy person? Yeah, you do, Bob. Do I look like a healthy person? Yeah, 80 plus, still going strong, 100%. Do I look like somebody that needs money? No, you don't. You just arrived in your private jet, so I think you'll be fine. And he goes, so obviously we must conclude, Anders, that your model isn't working and mine is. Why don't you try mine? And I'm like, okay, I was so thick-headed. I thought I'm just going to run faster, do more, like work harder, read more books. That's why I always say, mentorship and coaching is the way forward. We all need somebody in our corner that can help us spot our blind spots because they're all over the place. And that's what he did for me. And that's really what changed. So I think some people just need to be brutally honest with themselves. Really take an honest look. How is the finances? How is the health? How is the relationship? And put it down on paper and rate it. And everyone will figure out that there's always room for improvement. I don't care how good you're doing, you can always do better. And
Yeah.
it's not better for the sake of better, it's better for the sake of growth because we're spiritual growth. We are a spiritual being that's here to grow. We're created in God's image. God being the creator, we're here to create. Or you can put
Co-create.
exactly, or you can put it in a spiritual context and it works there too.
Yeah.
So it is that is what it is. We're here to create better, greater, faster, richer, whatever it is for either one of us. It'll be all different, but that's a good thing.
As a magician, here's a joke for you. What is the biggest room in the world?
The biggest what?
Room in the world.
The biggest room in the world. That has to be our mind. There's room for everything.
Room for improvement, but yes.
That's a good one.
Okay, tell us about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
I get up between 5:30, and the first thing I do is I won't say signature, I guess it is signature at this point, morning walk, where it's a combination of a ancient Buddhist ritual. It's a walking meditation coupled with programming, NLP programming, where we program ourselves and our state and our entire physiology to match our goals and also match whatever it is that we're facing that day. And so that's the first thing I do. And that's the routine we're giving away as well. When I come back, I usually do my exercise, 25 minutes of quick hit training to get my body in gear. I do my cold plunge. I have a cold plunge on my balcony. I do that. And then I come back and then I do my sitting written gratitude. And then I do study after that.
Talk about some of the benefits of the cold plunge. I know the benefits of the workout is good, and then followed by the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
There's different schools of thought to it. It depends on what your goals are. Some will say that it's best to plunge first and then go exercise. Some will say it's good for recovery to plunge after. I find it's good to plunge after for me. It just gives me a nice kick and I wake up that way. There's so many benefits to it. Detoxing, it boosts your norepinephrine and your serotonin levels to a point that's equal to taking 2.5 times ecstasy. Like you feel so good afterwards. You feel calm, you feel good, you feel motivated, and you feel a sense of joy and just an overall feel good state. So there is a process that takes place when your body starts heating back up, and thermogenesis, I think it's called, when your body starts reheating it, heating back up, and you burn brown fat. We have different fat layers. Yeah, you burn that, and you just feel your whole metabolism kick into high gear. It's a wonderful thing. I've done it for a year and a half now, and when I'm traveling, I try to do cold showers, but it just doesn't. It's not the same.
Yeah. A lot slower, more agonizing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's what it is.
Oh my goodness. What a beautiful conversation. How do I connect with you? Where can we find you? Tell us.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we like to give these tools away to really help people, first and foremost, understand how they're programmed and which of these five illusions is currently holding them back. So if you are a high-achieving entrepreneur, person who just wants to do better in their life, and you know that there's more awaiting, but you sort of feel like you're being held back from that next level, this is definitely going to change that. It's not just the assessment, it's actually a whole package of tools. But the first thing we are giving away is that illusion breaking self-assessment. It's a powerful guided assessment that helps us uncover that number one illusion, first of all. The second thing we're giving away is our entire magic mindset blueprint. And that's actually the first module of the program that Bob Proctor and I co-created. So it's not this surface level stuff. It's really deep and it's very thorough, and it helps you first and foremost set the goal. It comes with the morning priming exercise I mentioned earlier. So you actually learn how to prime yourself every morning, coupled with the module about how your mind and body works together to create results. It's very powerful. It addresses results at the root. And so you won't find this anywhere else. We literally put it together for this purpose. And it's very effective in helping you move in the right direction and in the right frequency. And so all you have to do to receive that, it's a complete kit. We call both the assessment and the magic blueprint the Real Magic Reset Kit. And all you have to do is go to my Facebook or my Instagram at Real Anders Hansen and just type in the word best morning on either one of our posts or DM it to us. And again, that's Real Anders Hansen, Anders Hansen, because like we talked about before, having different names, both you and I, sometimes you have to spell it out because, yeah, it is what it is. So Real Anders Hansen, and they just send us the word best morning in one word, and we'll send you the entire kit.
Anders, it's been such a pleasure, such a joy having you on the show today. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your presence and your magic with us. I felt it. It was amazing.
Thank you, Lunid. I really appreciate you for creating this great platform and helping so many people in the world that needs it now more than ever. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.